When the Minnesota Vikings brought in Gary Hank Hill Kubiak to take over as offensive coordinator of the Vikings after being offensive consultant, czar, whatever, I mean, we were pretty pumped. You were pumped too, because he had a guy who has all his experience with the outside zone running scheme. Dalvin Cook, perfect scheme for him. Vikings want to run the piss out of the football. It's whatever. Kubiak was basically in charge of the Kubianski offense last year, although that Cleveland offense is actually starting to look pretty good. Maybe Kevin Stefanski knows what he's doing. But with Kubiak, you have a Super Bowl winning head coach as your coordinator, which is the first time that's ever happened in NFL history. And you're like, okay, we have continuity on offense. That's going to give the Vikings a big advantage over other teams in this Rona-infested offseason with no OTAs and no preseason, blah, 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 blah. And then the first 2 weeks happened. And the play calling for Kubiak's fault, it felt pretty stale. It felt pretty 90s. Like, you think that he was calling plays in Zubaz or something. And the outside zone running game is timeless, except everything else felt just very dated. And the game script got away from him, and it was just not great. And through 2 games, Vikings fans wondered if Gary had lost his fastball, because it had happened before. So Kubiak looked great in Baltimore in 2014 when he was OC for a single season. He looked great when he won the Super Bowl as head coach of the Broncos, but also that offense was basically a Peyton Manning offense, even though Peyton Manning was deceased. He had ceased to be. 2016 with Simeon was no great shakes. And also, remember what had gotten stale, ironically, with the Texans, who the Vikings play this Sunday, where Kubiak from 06 to 2013, he was great, turning Arian Foster into someone, turning Matt Schaub into someone. But then they just couldn't quite get over the hump, and then Schaub regressed. Maybe Kubiak regressed towards the end, and it was just no bueno towards the end there in Houston. So now you look at the way that the Vikings offense performed the first 2 weeks. Way too long of developing plays led to Kirk Cousins' pressure. Also, Kirk wasn't doing the O-line any favors. It's like someone can't just gain awareness. Like, either you're born with it or not. It's weird. And then also, play action on the goal line directly led to 2 safeties in the first 2 games, which is embarrassing. Vikings' offensive time of possession was completely inept. They set NFL records. Now, yes, part of that is on the defense, part of that's on field position, but a lot of that is not being able to stay on the field and move the sticks. And the Vikings' offense, frankly, against the Packers, didn't rev up until garbage time. And then in the Colts game, week 2, you gain 175 yards total. You have 12 first downs in the game total. Kirk Cousins had less passing yards than Stephon Diggs had receiving yards that week. It's embarrassing, and it was a game that was all garbage time, and you still couldn't consistently move the rock against a pretty milquetoast Colts defense. Great. Awesome. And then, you did have a little bit of something to like. It's like, scripted plays. The first 2 games resulted in 10 points. Touchdown against the Packers, field goal against the Colts. It's like, Kubiak can still script up plays. But then, once you got off the scripted plays and you actually had to react and call plays, the Vikings had 3 non-garbage time points in those first 2 games, which is not... It's not good. Not ideal, right? And then when you got behind, your play sheet went very southeast, is what they say when coaches, they generally have long distance 2-minute drill plays on the bottom right of their play caller, so you're going southeast when the game script gets away from you. That really happened both those 2 games. But then, sexy time, week 3. So committed to Dalvin Cook, your most electric player on offense, the guy that you gave all that money to. He responded by getting the work and then putting up a $181 career high on the ground. Then you actually used Justin Jefferson, the first round pick, the guy who's supremely talented, who you only had 3 targets in each of the first 2 games. Yeah, that guy. Then you actually give him the ball and shocking. What happened? The first round pick actually has talent. It's weird. And then you saw a lot more play action, a lot more pocket movement for Cousins. He looked a lot more comfortable back there, minus the final drive. But your offense churns out 464 yards of offense and 30 points. You should be able to win, especially if you're a supposedly defense-first led team. That should be enough. Right, so never mind the clown shoes final drive. It is what it is. The offense did enough to win on Sunday, no matter what Mike Zimmer says. Like, he can call out the offense all he wants, but it's still his defense, buddy boy. And hey, when you only dedicate yourself to one side of the ball and that side of the ball sucks, that's sort of on you. But I digress there. So maybe it did just take a little bit of time for Gary Kubiak to shake off some rust, get back in the swing of things. I mean, after all, he hadn't called plays since 2016. The last time he was calling plays was for Trevor Siemian, so I was like, Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is different than when you're consulting, when you're actually trying to get back into a flow. I mean, Gary would have benefited from preseason games, and Gary's been around football for 40, 50 years, and he's a Super Bowl winning head coach. But yeah, he still would have greatly benefited. But it's like riding a bike. Gary crashed into the bushes the first 2 weeks. Week 3, finally taking the training wheels off. And now the rest of the way, hopefully he's just going to be popping wheelies and BMX and who's a BMX guy? Dave Mira, is he BMX? Oh, RIP, by the way. Yeah, he's going to be doing that for the rest of the season. So hopefully signs of things to come. Hey, Gary, if you ever get lost, just think about 33, 18, give him the rock. 19-2, why not? Also, 84, for goodness sake. Yeah, there you go. So your thoughts, Gary Kubiak shaking off some rust. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work, pull some in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.